Hey guys, now this wasn't planned. I raised my prices and somehow I've gotten triple the bookings. And it wasn't some big, huge strategy I was trying to test, no like new automation. I was just afraid, so I raised my rates. And surprisingly, it worked out. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how by accident, I just came up with a pricing strategy that can triple your bookings on Airbnb. It works, I promise. I fell into this. My name's Sean Rocky Geach. I've done Airbnb for 10 years, and pricing strategy is our favorite topic on this channel. So buckle in, and let me teach you something really cool about price. Have you considered that the first booking that you get in any month on Airbnb can have a domino effect on how the rest of your calendar gets booked and whether or not you get completely full? This video will have 3 ways that raising your price can make sure that you have a completely full, highly profitable calendar, but the first one is about controlling consumer behavior. Strap in, this is a bit nerdy. Let's fast forward. Today is June. Let's imagine your slow season is January and February. Would you rather have a 2-day stay booked on Friday and Saturday where Price Labs lowered your price to something small because it's slow season? Or would you like to have a higher rate and then give a weekly or monthly discount for January or February and get completely booked in 2 or 3 reservations? I'm sure you'd want the second. What I have learned to do in slow season is keep my prices high and then give conditional discounts for length of stays. Using rule sets on Airbnb, you can start at 5 days or 7 or 14 days. I like to identify the exact dates that slow season is, the dates that my pricing software wants to go lower than the rates that I like, and then do what I call clipping at the bottom, and then give length of stay discounts for the rest of the discount. So if Price Labs or Guesty's GPO wanted me at $125 and my price is $200, I might agree to $125 a night, but only if somebody books the full 14 days. This way, in slow season, your first booking can be a big booking and you don't have a little 2-day stay preventing you from getting the good booking. Because when the going gets tough, all your competitors are gonna drop their rates. So instead of just dropping your rates before them, which is smart, drop your rates before them for a condition of length, and then if you have to fight dirty to fill the rest of your calendar, at least your first booking was like 17 days long. Now that works for slow season, but what about peak season? What if I told you the second technique is to intentionally not get booked by raising your prices? This is really cool because there are times of the year where your market may not have enough hosts. So why get booked 4 months in advance at a price that might be a good price or might be too low, where instead you could raise your price to some unreasonable number and then you can wait. It's going to be peak season. Your host competitors are going to get booked and you can see when they get booked and for how much. And you can see if supply is running out in your market. So raise your rates 4 or 6 months in advance, and then 2 months or 3 months in advance, go check your market to see how quickly the market is absorbing. And then you can bring your price down a little bit or bring it down more depending on how much of your competition is booked and how strong peak season actually looks like it's going to be. And I promise you, if you do this right, you might find that you have 20 houses in your neighborhood, 19 of them are booked 2 months out, and you have 1 other competitor and you left, and that's it. And then if your 1 other competitor is $4,000 a night and you're $2,000 a night, you could get booked at $3,200 and still be a far lower price than them. The price that people are willing to pay for your listing will be contextual to your competitors, their quality, and how much they are charging. Remember, every time that somebody loads a search, they're going to see a bunch of listings and a bunch of prices. They're going to get indoctrinated, you can say. And far in advance, 4 months in advance, if you're too good of a price, somebody will book you because you're low. Peak season or during a Taylor Swift concert, if someone's traveling and they see that there's a hotel that has roaches that's $700 a night, and there's one Airbnb that's $5,000 a night, one that's $4,000 a night, and then yours, you can choose your price based on what's available. Why be $1,800 a night if your nearest 2 competitors are $4,000 and $5,000? You could make more money and still be the cheapest listing in the market. You guys don't know your value because you don't know how your competitors are valuing themselves in peak season. This gets really fun because on Airbnb, there's always going to be bad properties. You're going to see a few listings that no one would ever book, absolutely not. And then you're going to see people who are completely disconnected from the market and think their property deserves $10,000 a night. All the functional stuff gets booked. And all of the functional stuff gets booked well enough in advance that you can thread this needle and wait till all of the real stuff is gone and you're left with the people with the pie in the sky prices or the really trashy 3.5-star listing. And the last reason raising your prices can help is it affects the perception of your value. If you look at luxury goods companies, people buy stuff because it's expensive. You might have seen Payless Shoes troll everybody where they made a brand called Palessi. It looked like a fancy Italian shoe store. They sold their same shoes for $800 instead of $35. Influencers came in and paid for those shoes, and they were none the wiser, and they were shocked. Those influencers would have never paid for $35 shoes, but they paid $800 for the same ones. And so sometimes what can happen is because we need a booking, we can drop our rate so low that we lose the trust of the customer. Imagine a 4-bedroom house that's $120 a night, and the property looks like it should be $600 or $700. There's been enough scams on Airbnb that people will think that this is some offer-up Craigslist phishing scam. So instead, you can do something called a split strategy. Keep your 4-bedroom house priced high, even last minute. And the moment your price comes down to a point that you could make more money renting out individual bedrooms, you'll rent out the individual bedrooms. So for example, you never go below $300 a night on your house, but your bedrooms are $80 each, you could collect $320 a night per room. So this way it protects your bottom rate. You're still likely to get booked at $300 a night because that's a trustworthy number. And this way you also stay in search for people who filter out the cheap stuff because somebody wants a nice place and they know they can afford $400 a night. So why are they going to book a place that's only $200 if they want $400 a night worth of quality? People actually do filter out the bottom sometimes. And what's great about this is the more bookings that you get at a high price, the more you can discount your hardest to book days. So even though I've raised my rates, I'm also still lowering my rates sometimes. But after all, that's dynamic pricing, isn't it? If you keep your prices high in slow season, get longer bookings, and keep your prices high in peak season, and wait for your competitors to book up, and have a premium rate on the weekends and on weekdays where people actually pay for you because that's what they want, all of this extra revenue that comes from good high-end pricing allows you to take the adjacent days that I teach in my pricing strategy and lower those dates because they're unsearchable. It allows you to take the days that you have a low hit rate on, like Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and coupon those days away using my rule sets like a weekend bundle or a reverse weekend bundle or a 4-day perfect fit rule set. You can use strategic discounts because you can afford to, and you afforded this by pricing well all the way up until the time that you know that you need to drop your prices. Dropping your prices blind is just a scared way to do business. If you keep your finger on the pulse of the market, you can determine when last minute puts you in a position of strength or if last minute puts you in a position of weakness. So if you want to learn techniques to find out how strong or weak your market is day to day, week to week, I'm going to leave a market research playlist in this corner so you can start your free journey on learning how to do market research to include that into your pricing plans. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through to the end. You're my favorite people, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.